Here is your first look at a real and a fake pair of Nike Air Max 90 in the mesh toe variation. Can you spot any differences? Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing a real and a fake pair of Nike Air Max 90 in the mesh toe edition. I'll be pointing out differences between the two pairs so that when you're looking to purchase a pair for yourself, hopefully you will be able to avoid buying a fake pair with the belief that they're actually a real pair. So with that said, let's start the comparison. So the first thing that you'll notice, keeping the real pair on the left and the fake pair on the right, is that the real pair comes in this standard red Nike box. On the side of the box, on the size label, you'll see that here we have a code at the bottom, and this is the code that is specific to the black/black colorway of the Air Max 90. So if you've got this colorway of the shoe and the product code is anything different to this on the box, then assume that it's in a different box or that the item is fake. If we take a look at the fake one, however, you'll see that it didn't come in any box. They just came in this plastic bag with Nike printed on the front. As I've mentioned in a lot of my other videos, if the shoes come in a plastic bag with Nike printed on like this, then assume straight away they're fake, as no real pairs will ever come in that. Regarding the packaging inside the box, you'll see that on the real pair, we have this plain tissue paper which doesn't have any print on either side. Also, there are no additional accessories in the box with the shoes. If we take a look at the fake ones, however, inside this plastic bag I received a couple of extra accessories with them, which included these laces, which you won't get with any real pairs, and also a fake pair of Nike socks that you can see here, which again is not something that you will receive with any real pairs of Air Max 90. Getting the shoes out of the box, one of the first things that I notice is the material on the side. So if we keep the real one on the left here and the fake one on the right, you can see that on the real pair we have this leather material that runs around this part of the shoe, and it goes around the toe and towards the instep of the shoe. But in between that and the sole, you can see we have this material in between, which is a suede type material, and this is also present on the Nike Swoosh. If we take a look at the fake pair, however, you'll see that the leather part is the same here on this bit of the toe and the bit that runs round each side, but the bit of material in between that and the sole is actually leather as well, and so is the swoosh. So all of this material here is leather. There are a pair of Air Max 90 in the leather edition that are online, and they'll be listed as the LTR edition if you see them, but they have a leather toe as well. So if your pair has a mesh type toe, as you can see on these pairs here, but has leather going across all three parts of material here, then assume that they're fake. So I'll just put those side by side to give you a better idea. This is what we're looking for on the real ones, this material here on the swoosh and the part in between. Looking at the rear of the shoe, you can see that there are also a few differences here. So as I discussed on the previous point, on the real one we have this suede material that runs around, and this is the same on the back. And on the fake one we have leather there instead. But the main thing to look out for here is that where there's some stitching down the centre, it gets to the top here where this semicircle is, and there's a gap in between the Nike Air logo and this where there's some meshy material. If we look on the fake one, however, you can see that the mesh material goes around, but there's no gap in the middle, so the stitching runs all the way up to the top, just underneath this Nike Air logo. So this is what we're looking for here. This is the real one. What you can also see is the shape of the heel is slightly different. So at the top, you can see around this Nike Air logo where it squares off, it goes in either side and then has a much flatter part at the top. It does have a slight dip on it, but not very much. It's more or less straight there, and straight there. If we look at the fake one, however, you can see this is a lot wider at the top, and it doesn't run in line with the rubber material here. So the back of the heel is slightly angled off differently, and there is more of a dip in the top, as well as it being wider, as I already mentioned. So I'll just put those side by side so you can get a better look. Looking at the tongue of the shoe, firstly you can see that on the real one the colour of the tongue is slightly different to the rest of the shoe. Instead of being black, it's almost a lightish type grey. It shows a lot more in the light obviously, but you can still see it normally. Whereas on the fake, the colour of the tongue is black basically, so it matches up with the rest of the shoe. Also, if we just look at the Nike Air Max tag on the tongue, The only difference that I can see is that on the real one it has this R there, just on the top right above the Nike logo, and obviously it has Air Max here. It has Nike Air Max printed on the fake as well. However, the R is just under the N and the I, rather than being in the top right, as you can see is the case on the real pair here. Also, the material of the tongue is very firm and doesn't bend too much on the real one. You can see here it's also rounded and it doesn't affect the logo, so you can't bend it too much where the actual logo stamp is. Whereas on the fake one, it bends a lot and you can bend it right down the middle where the logo stamp is. So a lot more flimsy and just feels a lot cheaper than it does on the real one. Moving towards the bottom of the toe box, as I mentioned previously, the material is different around the sides, and that's the same here. So we've got this suede material, whereas it's leather on the fake. But the main point to look out for here is that just at the bottom of the laces, you'll see these two bits of stitching running together in a semicircle, whereas on the fake there's only one piece of stitching that runs around there. So that's the thing to look out for. And we also have this that goes straight and then runs another semicircle around the bottom there, which runs in line with these parts that go around each side of the inner step and outer step. That is present on here as well, just we can see that the stitching is a bit more untidy. So again, another thing to look out for is just the stitching. If it's not as tidy as it should be, as you can see on the real one, then again, expect that they're fake. But the main point that I would say on the toe is the bottom bit here, just below the laces, should have 2 lines of stitching, whereas on a lot of fakes it just has 1. If we look at the instep of the shoe, you'll see that just here on the material we have an indented part, and this meets up with the part of the sole that is also indented. So they meet in the middle here at the same point and it represents an arrow basically. So they are basically symmetrical across the middle. If we take a look at the fake one, however, it does have this same part of indented material on the sole, which is basically in the same position, but the part that it has that matches up to it is not in line, and it's a lot flatter, so it should be coming down there, but it's a lot straighter, as you can see. Also, this part is stitched, whereas on the real one, as I mentioned, it's just an indent, as you can see there. So I'll just put those side by side to give you a better look. Another thing to look out for around the instep is that just here, underneath the top 3 lace holes, you'll see that there are 2 bits of stitching that run, and just from those, another piece of stitching carries on across down here in a straight line, and just across the swoosh as well where it finishes. On this fake, and a lot of other fakes, this isn't present, so we have this same part of stitching here underneath the top 3 eye holes, but there's no piece of stitching that carries across here or into the swoosh, as it does on the real one. It's worth noting that this piece of stitching I mentioned here is also on the other side of the shoe, so it's on the instep and the outer part as well. And on both sides it matches up with the stitching that runs underneath the top 3 lace holes, and it also runs through the swoosh, just as you can see there. And the final difference that I can see on the instep is that again we have a piece of indented material that just carries on across the stitching here quite low down on the toe, but there's a gap underneath this stitching before where it starts into the next piece of material. On the fake, however, you can see that this part here, where this line is very close to the material underneath, and there's no gap in between. So if I just show you that close, you can see that the line is there, but this piece of material is basically on top of the piece of material underneath, whereas on the real one, as I mentioned, there should be a gap in between. Looking at the insoles on the shoes, you'll see that these are very similar. However, on the real pair, you'll see that the Nike Air stamp towards the heel is flipped and the opposite way around on each shoe. So on the left shoe, the bottom part of the Nike Air logo is facing towards the instep of the shoe, and that is the same on the right, meaning that each one is a different way around. If we take a look at the fake pair, however, you'll see that this Nike Air stamp is printed the same way around on both pairs, and that is a big giveaway that these are fake. Looking at the size labels on the inside of the shoe, you'll see that on the real one, we have the sizes for each region listed up here in the top left, and we have a barcode in the bottom right. We also have a product code here, which would match the product code on the side of the box. If we look at the fake one, however, you will see that the size label is slightly different, and it's in the format of Nike's older size labels, where the sizing is listed across like this for each region. But the product code in the middle of the shoe, that you can see there, does not match the one it should. So if you type that product code in online, it will return an Air Max 90 but in a different colourway. And when they've made the fake, that's obviously the one that they've been copying. So if I just show you those side by side, the main thing to look out for here is that when you type this product code in online, that you can see there, it returns an Air Max 90 in the exact colourway that you've got. And if it is anything different to that, as you can see on the fake one here, then assume that the pair is fake. So thanks for watching. If you could please like and subscribe, then that would help me greatly, as it allows me to grow the channel and to make more videos like this. Also, if there is anything else that you would like to see me review, then please leave a comment down below and I'll try to cover as many of those as I can. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.